Okay, I think that's it. We'll keep an eye on it. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go kind of quickly. We're in 20 minutes, but it'll be fast. So if there's something you don't understand, please ask. Okay, please ask Aiden, and then, okay, good. Just don't talk us, that way I can focus. But do ask me, though, if you have a question, okay? Okay, number one, all they want is the transformation. So all you're doing is left, up, down, all that, right? So down 4, right 4. That's a vertical stretch by 2. And then the negative in the front is a reflection over the x-axis. Okay, that's all you have to put. Okay, remember I told you when we learn transformations, once you learn them, piece of cake all year. Every time you see that question, because it's the same thing every time. Question on number one?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. Number two, roots are x-intercepts, right? These are x-intercepts. And a lot of you know that it's the opposite number. Most of you know that. But what I kind of see that you don't know is why is it the opposite number? That's the reason it's the opposite number, because you're really setting them equal to 0. And when you're solving that mini equation, when you're moving that 3 over, that's why it's the opposite number. And the reason that matters is because if you understand that, well, this one's easy, right? It says 5. But then you don't get stuck when you see this. Like, what is that? Okay? Because you know that what's really happening is that you're setting it equal to 0. And so if you solve that little mini equation, divide by -1, divide by -1, what number cubed is 0? 0. Okay? That's why it becomes the opposite, because you're really setting it equal to 0. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Now, multiplicity just refers to the bounce and cut. This is odd, odd. You're looking at the powers. Even, okay? And that's what tells you whether it bounces or cuts. So, odd power cuts, cuts, bounces. Okay, so cut, cut, bounce. Okay, now that's all they asked us in this question. Any questions on that? But I'm going to build the whole picture on these that way, because if you understand that, then the questions get easier, right? So this is factored form. So for these, the degree, that's when you add them, when they're in factored form. So if I add all those powers, what is that, 10?
10.
That's a 10 degree, which usually looks like a W, but you have a negative in the front, so it's really going to be a M shape. Okay, and the reason that matters is because of your end behavior. They're both pointing down. Left and right arm are going down towards negative infinity. Okay, any questions on this, guys?
No, sir.
What'll be the y-intercept?
0, 0.
0, 0. Okay, because you're like, how did they get that so fast? If you plug a 0 in here, when you multiply any number times 0, it's 0. Okay, so that's how you're able to extract that. Okay, number 3, you could come up with a bunch of equations. That one's I feel like it's kind of tricky because you're like, which one is true? There's a bunch that could be true. On the test, it'll be like a multiple choice, so you don't have to like create an equation. Okay, but here's the point of how do you build it? That's the root, so the factor came from there. Right, once again, it's the opposite. Okay, that root is positive 2, so it came from negative 2. And then root 0 comes from x over there off by itself. Okay, so that's where the roots came from. And then you figure out the multiplicities. Cut, bounce, cut. So this is going to be an odd number, even number, odd number, power, right? So the 1 would be odd, so you could put like a 1. Or a 3, or a 5, or a 7, any odd number. The 0 is the even, so you can put a 2, or a 4, or a 6, or 8, any even number. And then the 2 is the odd, so you can put 1, 3, 5, 7, any odd number. That's why you could have a bunch of different combinations. And I messed up last period. I stopped here, but somebody corrected me. Anybody knows what's missing here? Negative. It's upside down, right? So, good job. If I had money, I'd give you money, but I don't have money. Okay, negative. Is that good, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? All right, let's go to number 4. More of the same with number 4. But first, let's get a picture of this. So a lot of people miss this question on the test when I asked you for degree. Because a lot of people would have said 7. But it's really 8, because this one's a 1 right there. Okay, so it's really an 8. And it's positive in the front, so it's going to be a W. Okay, before I even start, all that information's there. What would the y-intercept on this one be? 0, 0. Okay. Listen, like, I know that's confusing to some of us, but the reason it's 0 is because if you plug a 0 here, 0 squared is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times anything else is going to be 0. So I don't even have to calculate any of that. Okay. Okay, but what they're asking is for the roots. So 17, negative 42, 64, right? Because you're really setting those equal to 0. What is this root right there? Let's see, let's actually solve it so I can show you. I want you to be real confident about it, okay? So if I solve this, what's 0 divided by 5? 0, right? So you have x squared equals 0. So what squared is 0? 0. Okay. Okay, and then they ask for multiplicities. So again, it's from the odd even. So bounce, cut, bounce, cut. Intersect on the test, they'll say intersect or tangent instead of bounce. Question on that one, guys? No, we're good? Okay. Number 5, notice we don't say factor by grouping, we just said factor, okay? But when you have 4 parts like that, that's what it is, it's factor by grouping. But before, let's break it down. Degree 3, okay, this one you don't add the powers, it's the highest power is your degree. And it's positive in the front, so it's gonna look like that. What would the y-intercept be on this one?
It'd be negative 4.
Negative 4, okay, because these would all cancel to 0, leave you only with negative 4. And the reason this matters is because if they ask you like end behavior, I already know my end behavior. The right arm is pointing up, so it's pointing up. Up is infinity. The left arm, that's left arm, is pointing down, infinity. So we can take any question and answer those questions like that, okay? What we lack is the roots, which is why factor by grouping is handy. Okay, so factor by grouping, make your 2 groups. Common mistake, students leave the parentheses, the negative in between the parentheses. Make sure you put everything inside the parentheses. So first I can take an x squared out. On the second one, I can take a negative 4 out. This will switch this to a plus. Be careful with that. Okay. Everybody okay with that first step? Y'all did fabulous on factor by grouping. The only issue on the quiz was a lot of you stopped here. Or you went too far when you couldn't go further. But on this one, you can go further right here. That's difference of perfect squares. So it breaks like that. If this right here, guys, if that would have been a 2, could you break it down further? No, because 2 is not a perfect square. Okay. So this is the answer to this question, factor by grouping. But if they had asked us for roots, negative 2, 2, negative 1. Right? If they wanted more out of us, we could give it more. So I have everything I need to sketch this if I needed to. Question?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Number 6. Okay, guys, on your review, all these questions you've been doing are like 5 points, 10 points. This one's 50 points. Okay, because it has a lot embedded into a question. Okay, so let's go through it carefully. This one and number 8 are a big deal. Okay. Okay, everybody focus on 6. It's important. Okay. So the issue. Well, before we start, we can answer questions again. It's a degree 3. So it's positive. Y-intercept is 18, negative 18. So I already know all that before I even start. You cannot factor by group this one. If they're asking you for a rational root theorem, almost for sure you can't factor by group. You'll get stuck. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So this is rational root theorem means you're going to have to do division. So that's why this is so many points, because it has synthetic division inside of it. Okay, that's the only way you could do it. But what are we going to divide by is the question, right? So this is where P comes in. P, we're going to keep it simple for you, not P over Q. Just think of P, okay? I mean, this Q is 1, so it kind of just... So factors of 18, those are numbers that multiply to 18. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. Honestly, I'm going to be frank with you, okay? Me and Ms. Hess, we've looked for questions that usually are early on, you can find a root. Because if not, it gets real tedious when you're having to go through so many. Because remember, you're having to do positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So if you haven't found a root by 3, you're probably doing something wrong with these. Okay? Because we're trying to keep them simple. So I start with positive 1. I like to start with little numbers. And then negative 1, and then 2, and then negative 2. Everybody good so far, though, what I'm doing here? Okay, so synthetic division. Okay, I'm not going to explain the process because we've done it lots of times. But if you need help, of course, come in for help. Okay, but that is not 0. Okay, so this is not a root. So you try positive or negative 1. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try negative 1. The nice thing is once you get synthetic division down, it's smooth, it's fast, right? You just drop and add. Root. Okay, so we have a root. So our first root. Question up to that point, yes? Okay, here you have options. Okay, and I want you to know your options. The way that I've shown you every time in class is I've shown you to factor this because I'm biased to that. I think it's faster. Okay, but let's say you get stuck factoring. Here's what you could do. You could take your answer and keep on dividing, right? So remember my list, 2, 3, 6 and stuff? I could try 2 next and see if it works. And then I could try negative 2, and then 3, and negative 3. And you can just keep doing that until you find your factors. I'll do this one real quick so you can see. So 2 is not a root. And that took me like 5 seconds, okay? So you could do negative 2 and so on and so on. But I still think factoring is faster. Now, they don't always factor, but again, the ones that we've looked for you, factor. They should factor, okay? So there's my factors. So here's my roots. If you have your factors, you know your roots. That means that if you divided by 3, you would get a 0. If you divided by negative 6, you get a 0. Okay. Questions, guys? Yes, sir. It is positive on the factor, but the root, yeah. Yes.
So why does it start with like a square instead of a cube?
Because when your answer, that's a good question. Once you get your answer, it's 1 power less than what you started with. Yeah. Any other good questions, guys? Okay, that's all they asked us, right? Well, we could sketch it, right? We have everything. So I'm going to go on, though, because I need time. But we had all the information. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster because I'm running out of time. Increasing from here to here, you describe that with the x-axis. So it's going from negative infinity to negative 3. and then again from 0 to 4. That's where it's increasing. Decreasing would be where it's falling. And I'll have this on canvas. Okay. This right here is called relative max. This one's the absolute max. That one's relative minimum. And you don't have an absolute minimum because those are infinities. Is that okay, guys? On that one? That's from last unit. Okay, but I'm trying to rush to get to number 8. Number 8's a big one too, okay? Okay, number 8 is on the test. It's going to be like pick all the ones that are true. So say one of them will be like, is 1, 0 a root? That's the nice thing because you don't have to go find roots. To find roots to this is ugly on this one because you do have a q. And so you have to do fractions. You have to do like 3 over 2, 1 over 3, stuff like that. So instead, since they're asking us if this is a root, we can just test it out and see if it is a root. Now you know how to test, okay? So I just made this one up, but let's check. And we got lucky, like it is a root. Okay, so it is a root. Root. And then it'll ask you like y-intercept, for example, right? What's the y-intercept on this one? 3. What is the domain in the range? Well, we need to know what it looks like. Odd degree, upside down though. Flipped. All real numbers, right? End behavior, right arm down, left arm up. What else did they ask? That's it, right? Oh, I erased this from yours because we don't know how to do that yet. Okay. Last question. True or false? False. Okay, there it is. Okay.